back to the State Farm Analyst Desk. As we approach the end of summer, we've got an important award to start thinking about, and that is Rookie of the Year, everybody. I do want to look where some of these up-and-coming stars stand, starting with Evil Genius's Danny. Emily, I believe you're making a pretty strong case for him on lane by lane.
You know who I'm going to talk about immediately. The thing that impressed me with Danny right off the bat was his team fight micro. Obviously, we're going to see the Samira just because that's one of his best champions. That's what really made him stand out to me when I was watching him on EG Prodigies. However, you know, right from the get-go, he comes in, even in their 0-3 week, he's playing really, really well in these team fights. And his laning phase is kind of what needs a little bit of work, but I think he's improved significantly in that. And he has been the major difference maker on this team, bringing them from, you know, where they were previous split to, in my opinion, the best team in the league right now.
A huge part of their success, Kaizen, and I think very impressive that we hear, even in game, he doesn't come across as a rookie to his teammates.
He doesn't. You know, he's someone who's been very confident. We even had Ignar on the desk yesterday talk about how vocal he is and how much of a contributor he is to not just his individual play, but the team's calls. And I think that's pretty impressive for a guy who, you know, just stepped into the LCS and, you know, is in a role where typically, you know, it would be very easy to excuse him for just being focused on his lane and his individual performance.
And I think another thing that's really impressed me about him to that point is that he's never relented in terms of having this kind of aggressive style, especially with his team fighting. Like, he's always looking to get in there and do as much damage as possible. He goes for a lot of very risky plays, especially on something like a Tristana, for example, where he knows, he obviously knows the limits of that champion really, really well. And he's always focused on doing the maximum amount of damage. He's never lost the kind of aggression that I saw from him when he was on EGP. And I think that's really impressive because a lot of times we see rookies come to the LCS and they might struggle against bigger competition or, you know, kind of be taught to reel it back in a little bit. And he never has, and it works so well with this team.
Yeah, I'm also really impressed with the fact that, like, he's a little bit got his own champion pool as well. Like, I think he's the best Samir in the LCS, for example. We saw him play the Ziggs recently as well. And I'm always going to be a big fan of that because there's always more viable champions than what are currently meta, like, you know, whatever the top 3 or 4 is that teams mostly clamor for. Like, no. There's always a draft angle for him to bring out the Samira. And it's like, hey, he's going to pull extra bans sometimes, and that's going to drop off. And it's like, oh, well, by the way, like, you've not practiced against his angle, right? Like, no one else is practicing against Samira lanes. No one else is thinking about what Samira's going to do in comps. But, oh, he and his team have that as well, by the way, right? And that's always going to be useful as long as she's viable, and she is. Like, that's just an extra angle. It's just an extra bit of power that you know, once in every 10 games is going to come out, and it's going to be a big difference maker.
It's no secret that there's a lot of Danny love in the house, but there's got to be some of Blaze Olive love too, right? We're coming off a GG game. He's been here all year, really showing out lately.
Yeah, and it's a shame that we're talking about this right after a loss, because I think the loss is not reflective of his performance over the course of the split and the year, right? I think this guy has actually been a top half mid laner, and mid lane is one of the most stacked roles in the league right now with the addition of players like Abadage. And I think when we look at the pieces that Ablalov has around him, you know, he doesn't have a super stacked all-star lineup like one could argue Danny has to an extent. So I think the individual performances that Ablalov has been able to put up, the diversity he's shown with the Tom Kench, even with the Zoe Carrot performance to come back against C9, has made this team be much more of a contender than I think people anticipated. So we just have to give some credit to Ablalov as well.
Yeah, look at that kill percentage. I think the other thing I really like about Blaze Olive, similarly, you know how I talked about how Danny, you can see his improvements in the laning phase from the start of the split on. With a Blaze Olive, obviously some of it is just having a less volatile top lane, but even in his like actual team fight performances, you remember that one Tristana game where everyone was just like, go in, like you can do it. And he's evolved so much, again, in terms of how he wants to play around these team fights and being like a true carry force from when he was a lot more hesitant in the spring split.
Yeah, potentially some other wild cards to throw into the mix, some dark horses, but Danny and Blaze Olive seem to be at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. Here's some Jenkins.
Freak is whispering Jenkins over here.
Jenkins is really good.
Yeah, Jenkins is pretty good, but I think we're ready to get into game to see Danny in action. Now let's throw it to Pastry and Azale.
Thank you very much, Latargus. It's time for another champion select as EG is going to be taken on IMT. The other rookie, of course, on the IMT side is Revenge. Trying to battle Danny. Going to be a tough one, let me tell you. The winning team's rookie, generally pretty favored in this kind of race.
It's true. I mean, it's been fun to have more rookies around, to be honest. I've actually just been really enjoying the fact that there's been more young talent coming up into the LCS. More teams are willing to experiment, pull up academy players. I mean, Danny wasn't even in academy.
Yep.
He went straight, just kind of
Skipped it.
skipped that, just straight to the LCS. So I think that's been really cool. Revenge has had a solid split. I do think that, you know, it's mostly about Danny and Ablaze Olive as far as rookie of the split. Like, he has been rookie of the year, excuse me, I guess. Has been really, really good. Excited to see this game, though. EG has just been pretty close to unstoppable. 11 out of 12, I believe, is the streak that they are on as far as wins do go. They look like the best team right now, and they have been cruising. Immortals has locked playoffs, but have not been performing, I think, to the level that they were earlier in the split. Have hit some roadblocks, have hit some stumbles, and you really want to see that they can compete against the top teams to kind of build some confidence going into playoffs.
Yeah, I think for me, the other thing with IMT is, like, they just kind of seem like tired, right? Like, it's a long year. They've been battling, you know, back and forth, trying to get a spot. Maybe they felt like they were going to get a top 6 spot, and now they're pretty much going to lock in 7th or 8th, depending on results. So, you know, it's tough, right? At the end of the season, you have to try and, you know, keep momentum, but you also have to think, like, we have even longer series to play in the playoffs that we tried to make that we have now made.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot for IMT to figure out in a short amount of time. A good showing here, though, against EG is going to help any team, given how good EG's current form is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that builds a tremendous amount of confidence if you can take down someone like them. EG has been killing it, so pick some bans. Only real kind of a bit of an atypical thing is the Ziggs, and that's just an Immortals pick that they really do like to play. We've seen it mid, we've seen it bot. Renekton taken away here, Viego left up. That will be the snap up by EG. And this honestly can be a three-way flex for EG, so I do think it kind of gives them some additional power there. Jizuke obviously very comfortable on these aggressive picks. My expectation is probably Svenskeren. It seems to be the most common for them to just play this out of the jungle. Gwen, pretty much guaranteed to be up for Revenge. So it'll be interesting to see if EG has any sort of specific answer that they want to bring out into it. I've always been kind of waiting for some of these like side lane duelists, like things like Jax can absolutely slam Gwen, but obviously teams are more hesitant to play that because it is much more of kind of like a split push win condition than playing out through team fight, and that seems to be the name of the game in pro play. But Aphelios could be a takeaway. With a Thresh grabbed, you're kind of looking at that as maybe an obvious pairing for Raze and Destiny. Of course, the downside of this takeaway is that you won't have necessarily as safe of a defensive pairing alongside the Aphelios. Tom Kench is obviously kind of removed as that defensive option because of the rework or whatever you want to call it, update. So they could still go towards something like Jinx. Like Jinx Thresh can work quite well if you want another scaling option there. But I'm going to be most interested about what the support will be for EG and how heavily Immortals will actually target that in the second phase bans.
Last pick, sorry, is Kayn. We have seen this one actually for Xerxes. I've seen it by a couple of players, but not that common in the LCS, but always a fun one to see. Have another AD jungle you can put in these. I have magic damage somewhere. Gwen, of course, gives you easy damage profile diversity in your comps, so kind of interesting to see what IMT want to go here.
I will say I'm surprised by the Kayn. You know, I don't love the pick order because it's like you could have counterpicked mid here, or you could have secured a high prio AD to actually pair with the Thresh. They did neither, so now there's going to be bans either thrown to protect Jizuke on the LeBlanc or to really limit what Raze can do. Kalista, an obvious pairing, is one of the really aggressive pairings that they can eliminate here. So we'll see what they actually end up with. You know, I understand if you're just trying to hide mid and your bot pick, but it doesn't feel like Kayn is something that gets banned almost ever. So I don't really think that there's much of a risk there unless you really have a curveball that you're expecting to throw from mid and bot.
Yeah, I mean, Jizuke took this LeBlanc pretty early in this draft as well.
Yeah.
So Insanity has been playing it quite a bit. I like it as a takeaway, but maybe Insanity has something prepped. But if it is just kind of a normal draft, I agree with you. I think you could have changed things up slightly and still gotten a very similar or better result. Just they're going to be banned away from Raze, basically taking all of the good like 2v2 lanes that Raze and Destiny could try and stitch together, which, you know, help protect Aphelios a little bit here, regardless of what spot Ignite ends up on. And in fact, he only lost one in Phase 2, Nautilus and Jace for the 2 bans for IMT, as the Raze Raven is going to make an appearance.
The Raven coming out here. Let's see. The stats there. Pick stats, 0% pick.
Nice.
2% ban, 0% win. Well, that has no picks, can't have any wins. Going to be excited to see if they can punish the Aphelios here. A little bit of a style hover there on the Samira. I don't think that we're going to get solo lane Aphelios. There's a lot of memes about top Aphelios for a while.
Still haven't got it.
Still haven't got it. Surprise, surprise. Absolutely shocked. But Lee Sin will come through here. So we have LeBlanc mid. I'm expecting it to be, Lee Sin top. But it could be Lee Sin jungle, especially when it's paired with Svenskeren. If Ignar goes Blitz, this would be kind of that lane counter to the Thresh. Generally, when Thresh goes with a hook, you can immediately reactively hook in the Thresh and often come out on top by just actually focusing him down. That being said, that's not a defensive pick at all. That would be a really aggressive move, especially against the Draven. So they are going to go Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench works, like, you can be this really scrappy champion, but you don't have the Devour as a basic ability. You cannot save the Aphelios from that hook. Largely, it's about, if the Aphelios gets hit, you actually have to W aggressively onto the enemy AD to try to push them back from following up. You can be really effective in early game brawls, but that being said, I'm just not super confident that this is going to be, a good 2v2 for them. Because I don't think that Tahm Kench can afford to just soak hooks against the Draven, who's going to be really, really dangerous. And Aphelios doesn't really have anyone to keep him safe. So, maybe EG focused a little bit too much on taking the Aphelios away from their opponents, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Ryze as the last pick is interesting here. Obviously a bit of setup there for Xerxes on the Kayn. And can also play 1-3-1 pretty heavily. Double AP 1-3-1. Gwen and Ryze, great side laners here. You have a pretty strong 3-man core as well. But Ryze also can be very vulnerable to LeBlanc plus Lee Sin. And that's a pretty dangerous duo. Has a lot of early game power.
Yeah, 1v1, I actually like this as a counter pick. It doesn't slam the lane, but I think you can be very safe. And often, if you're doing well, push LeBlanc in. But 2v2 definitely feels like it could be a struggle. So we'll see how it goes. But Azuke does this all the time to LeBlancs. So Insanity's kind of trying to take that side of the matchup and see what he can get done with the Ryze. Funnily enough, I will say, Ignar, not the player we usually think about when we think about defensive supports. You get a one-time with your ult, right? And if you use it well, it can be still very powerful, but obviously you don't get the luxury of having it on, a 25-second cooldown anymore. But I actually think Tahm Kench leaning more aggressively after the changes might suit Ignar better as a player. So I'm kind of curious to see how this looks.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting, right? And I agree. I mean, the ultimate is more powerful than the basic ability was, right? You get a big shield when you devour defensively. But my concern is mostly about the laning phase. How far behind will Aphelios be in the early levels? Pre-6 for Tahm Kench, and supports often hit 6 quite late. It's a scary lane. If Aphelios gets hooked, you likely will just be dead. So he's going to have to play it very safely, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, we are too, but we are going to be heading into a quick break to build delay. As a reminder, our players are competing remotely, so we do have to build that up. But when we return, we're going to be loading straight onto the Rift and watching EG take on IMT. We'll see you here.
It all comes down to this one last dragon fight to call the whole game. Boom! Look at the damage on the wombo combo. All 5 enemy players down. GG!
welcome back. We're about to go onto the rift for EG versus IMT. I was going to say we have a spicy draft, but actually it's pretty standard.
Except for the Draven.
Except for the Draven.
We have a spicy pick.
Woo!
I'm excited for this one. This is going to be really interesting. Pretty much any time you have something like Draven versus Aphelios, you must snowball on Draven. So there's such an obvious point on the map that both teams are looking towards, that EG is going to try to shut down or minimize loss on, that Immortals is going to try to snowball the game through. We're a little level 1 here. We'll see if Xerxes wants to try to pick up some orbs on the early game. And also going to be interested to see what he actually is going for. Is he ganking the range champions, going for those red orbs, or will he be playing more heavily for the ranged ones, or for the ranged champions, trying to get the Assassin Cane? We've been seeing more like Bruiser builds. It feels like the most common now is you kind of just build Bruiser, and then you choose your form based on the game itself, on how it's playing out. But you kind of default to Conqueror and Bruiser build, whether you're going to go blue or red, which I think makes some sense.
Church of Danny coming in with Danny Aphelios Blessed. I agree. Guys, pretty good at that champion, as it turns out. So I don't blame EG for taking it so early. Will be a fun 2v2 to watch develop, though.
Does he just tweet that out for every champion except Danny Syndra?
I think so.
Everything else is blessed. But that's Syndra.
That's Syndra.
Otherwise, they'd be on a 12-game winning streak.
10-game winning streak. That's
How
true.
could you?
And hey, by the way, an audio-only cast of the games is available through leagueday.gg. Well, your League Day casters, TJ and Cubby, will be keeping it in the action while you're stuck in traffic or doing whatever else your Saturday might require of you. So check them out, but you're also more than welcome to hang here with us, because look at the League of Legends we got right here. It's Xerxes farming the Krugs.
He is farming the Krugs, and he's going double small camp. So I'm wondering if he's going to do any sort of cheesy little early gank here, or if it is just the power clear, trying to get level 5 super fast. You can go Raptors up the Krugs, then go red, clear down. You get a really early respawn on the Raptors and Krugs. You can cycle them again. And then sometimes people like to do this straight into early Dragon solo and these types of plays, because this is the most experience you can get basically early on. Ignart going to have to be playing pretty defensive here. He is playing Ignite. He is playing Guardian. So defensive runes set up. Oh, uh-oh.
Nice fillet there, level 2, of course, for Destiny and Raze. And the chunkage comes through, as expected, for Draven.
Yeah, and that's pretty careless from Danny. You cannot be getting hooked early like that. It's level 2 to level 1. He wants to be in experience range, but the wave is pushing towards you, so there's no need to be that aggressive. And he lost half his health there. He does have Red Gun, so he will be able to heal up some of this, but you've got to be so careful about your positioning against these kind of lanes. They are looking for the kills constantly.
Excuse me, Jizuke? That angle was nuts.
Yeah.
Getting insanity there with that chain.
Bend it like Beckham.
Yeah. Knows his way around LeBlanc, it seems like. Also, of note in the top lane, kind of cool to see the dual 1v1, but it is double Ignite, which is becoming very common with these top laners that have, some built-in dashes / mobility of their own. Just take Ignite, don't need the damn flash.
Yeah, exactly. I understand it. As someone who likes to play a lot of top lane myself, the best part about taking Ignite is that you can just blame your jungler if you die. You're like, well, it's Ignite versus Ignite. Come on, it's combat summers, bro. You had to path top. Like, what are you doing?
Hey, look, Svenskeren heard you. He's going off here for Impact.
See?
Ooh, missed down for Revenge as well. Impact's going to go into his own mist. It's a mist battle here as Svenskeren is going to start the dive off. And Revenge looking real dead on my screen. That's first blood for Svenskeren and second blood to Revenge.
He will lose some minions here, and it was just the second blood. So still really good play here from EG. But yeah, I mean, Ignite top laners are just becoming so popular. Pretty much any top laner that has a dash these days, people are going it. I've even seen it on picks that are more traditionally considered defensive, like Shen, because Shen can actually even have kill pressure early. So the early push here, the early trading went the way of Impact, and they just go straight in onto him. The return damage, though, from Revenge was very, very high. He got the true damage from the snip. He got the Ignite down. The tower shots coming through. They get the kill, but because he went back to base, without a lot of farm, it's still pretty good. Impact gets a good early buy, gets to save his teleport. Revenge has to spend his. So if Svenskeren comes back towards top again, it's going to be really, really bad for Revenge. It's often the second gank that really costs you. If you die without TP available, it is rough. Xerxes was spotted coming in, so he queued over the wall there. Now should see the ward debris and know that he was spotted. But Jizuke was trying to do a little bit of baiting action, and had he gone for that, Svenskeren would have been around.
Revenge getting some damage done onto Impact.
Yeah.
Impact pretty low. Sheen versus Doran Shield Amp Term. Sheen lots of damage, but Impact not a whole lot of defense to speak of in the 1v1. There are no Ignites left, but TP already pulled in for Revenge, means the Impact is definitely vulnerable, so he's going to have to get back and TP back in before Xerxes finishes off this tower dive, although Svenskeren is covering because he knows the Impact's a pretty high priority target right now.
Yep, but Xerxes is level 5, so he does have the advantage here. Has been spotted. Insanity on the move here as well, but you can actually see Ignar was heading up, so they have the cover here. Tahm Kench moving up. Aphelios heading back towards bot. And a lot of action up on this top side, and because both teams kind of responded appropriately, nothing is going to come from it. Impact taking a pretty bad trade after immediately walking back to the lane, though, does cost him, and it might actually remove his TP advantage. They had gotten that out, and it will. So that rough little bit of trading, Revenge evens that out, and he'll be the one to actually have TP first now. So well played by Revenge. After getting dove early, he did get a kill, so the gold was fairly even, and getting that TP advantage out means he's in a good spot.
Yeah, definitely could be kind of volatile, especially as the Ignites come back off cooldown, but a lot of attention being pulled towards the mid lane right now. Xerxes has been kind of hovering that left brush for quite a while. He's currently finishing off the Scuttle Crab. Part of me wonders, is this just like an advanced part of the experience route through the jungle? Are you camping the mid lane, trying to hope a couple creeps
I'm
die?
covering you, bro. Don't worry. Quit leashing my XP.
Realm whoop, nice there. I like the dive attempt, but Impact very respectfully already dashing back towards the wall into the mist. And now bottom side could be the problem here. 2v1 for Danny. Danny there, ooh, nice little gravity gun, but can't get himself hooked, but clears the wave successfully without getting killed as Xerxes over the wall. Speedrun strats here, clipping through the rift, as Xerxes is going to be A-okay with the blast plant and some teammates nearby.
Yeah, you can see the assist pings down there. Ignar's got to move. I mean, yeah, Danny cleared out that first wave. He's going to have to give up the entire second wave. Like, you're just going to have to give all this up, and you're losing tower plates, so the roam from Ignar, really not worth it. He is not exactly this like crazy engaged champ on Tahm Kench, not really having a very explosive roam, and it will cost them most of a wave. It will cost them a tower plate here, and does put Aphelios behind, but I guess, maybe Ignar's read is we can't lane 2v2, so I'm trying to drop people up. I'm trying to pull Destiny out of that 2v2 bot, make him match my roams, but so far, Immortals playing it pretty well there. We are, unfortunately, into a pause. Hopefully, we'll be quick.
Yeah, don't know what it's for, but as soon as we have more info, we will pass it on. Definitely rough in the bottom side, though, for Danny. In Danny's defense, or I guess Ignar's defense, Danny knew what he signed up for when he joined this team, right? Ignar's always out of there, even on something like Tahm Kench. I do agree, though, that the amount of time he's spending, even though it does help kind of answer some of the pressure that's happening, especially to the mid lane, is like he's already, 20 CS down in a bad matchup? Like, it's not going to get better if the 1v2 is prolonged.
Yeah, exactly. So the update is the player did disconnect, so they're looking to reconnect. Hopefully there will be no lingering issues, and we'll be able to quickly get back into it.
Hard to play the game disconnected.
It is true. Yeah, I found that. I liked the initial roam from Ignar. I think the move to cover the dive top, after Impact has a bad trade with Revenge, they're looking to set up a dive. They're actually looking to do to Impact what, EG wanted to do to Revenge, which was actually get a kill or push him off without TP, because that's where you get the big advantage. So I think that initial roam from Ignar to cover that was really smart, was really well timed. But I question hanging around so long, because if you're like Blitz or you're Nautilus or you're Luna or whatever, you have a very explosive engage, right? A low-level Tahm Kench, honestly, any level Tahm Kench does not have an explosive engage. Let's not lie, it doesn't get any better really later. The W is very slow. Your Q is, oh no, I'm slowed.
Yeah,
right? Like, who cares? So it just, the extended play up on the top side, I don't think is worthwhile. And even if you're disadvantaged in the 2v2, it's important that you're getting the Aphelios farm, that you're getting him experience. So a little bit of a lead for Rays on the bottom side. Going to be happy to have cashed in on the plate. Going to be happy to have created a CS advantage for him. But EG is still looking pretty good overall.
Right, and kind of Tahm Kench as a support is so interesting as well, because typically one of the reasons supports can afford to be so proactive, and we've seen a ton of this around the world, but obviously kept my eyes mostly on the LCS. Like the amount of activity supports have started to generate is only scaled up exponentially as the weeks in the LCS have gone on. And Tahm Kench actually needs his XP, right? Ultimates are typically good on every champion, but Tahm Kench is missing a whole part of his kit if he doesn't have his ultimate. Leona's got plenty of stuns without her ultimate. Yeah. Tahm Kench literally cannot devour you if he doesn't skill his ultimate.
Yeah, I hear you. It's Leona also can't use her ultimate if she doesn't have her ultimate pastry.
Right,
but
she has 2 stuns, and the ultimate adds a third one.
It's like
Tahm
the most
Kench
important
is
part.
A slow, this awful dive that's too slow, like you mentioned, a shield, and nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's a defensive support with no defense.
Yeah,
just a tongue.
Absolutely. You just a frog with a tongue doing his best out there
Just try it.
until you hit 6. I agree. I mean, I think it's really important. Level 6 is huge. It is a very powerful ultimate now. It is on a long cooldown as a result. But yeah, hitting 6 is huge, especially if you're playing against a team that has quite a lot of dive. You're looking at Gwen, you're looking at Kayn, the ability for even the Draven to reach backline with the ultimate. So yeah, you want some safety for the Aphelios because that may be your kind of get out of jail free card is this ultimate from Tahm Kench. So getting experience important there. And we've seen both teams also playing very heavily around mid. Xerxes kept going back towards mid, but warding often spotted him. I think he is there less to make the proactive play and more to make the reactive play because Lee Sin plus LeBlanc is such a powerful combo as far as the 2v1. So I think he's been really hovering a lot, mostly just trying to make sure that Insanity is safe and can farm and can kind of get his gold.
Kind of like drift on by for the orb farm, get in there, spin on him, get out. I mean, you gotta Kayn it's funny. Kayn is such an interesting champion because his gank power isn't that interesting, especially if he's unevolved Kayn. So he needs to farm, but he also needs to hit enemy champions to get to the form that does anything.
Yeah.
So you do need to really battle this overwhelming desire to want to power farm and also the need to hit champions so you level up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe Xerxes split the difference. I'm telling you, he's stealing a couple XP every now and then. It's that he doesn't know it.
Yeah, exactly. It's shady. These junglers. You can't trust them.
I don't trust them.
They're hanging around on the Raptor pit. They're leeching your experience.
They tell me it's I'm just covering your wave.
Let me just push this out for you.
Exactly.
No, bro, I'm freezing. Yeah. Back off.
I'll get us in the tower. You can take a recall, right? I'm next to you. Get off the cannon. They smite it. I'm like, oh.
It's true, man. Kayn does have to kind of walk that line, though, right? Because to your point, it's you're weak early, but you need to fight enough that you can get your form. Because if you don't get your form, you really are not a real champion.
You're weak forever.
It's kind of that line. You try to take a lot of quick trades, little skirmishes where it isn't the full commitment. But we are back to live. We're back into the game here. I wonder if it's going to be Eclipse Draven here.
I hope so.
We have the early lethality. Could be Duskblade. I feel like that's less common. People generally want more of that middle ground and not just the pure offensive, straight up one-shot style. Insanity though, threatening a move, does not have a Realm Warp, so I think it will just be a little bit of a trip for vision.
Yep, just getting the Herald info. Tells toward the back of the pit. Oh, he found some Raptors to farm. That's pretty sweet. Gonna go ahead and he touched one. Xerxes like, get out of there. Never mind, he finished off the camp. I think there was only a couple small ones left. Decisive is hanging out with the blue buff. Hook there onto Danny. Level 4 Tahm Kench. Gonna be a flash out of Aphelios. Does ulti back there to gravity gun them down, but Danny just down 2 summoners now.
Yeah, and now it's going to be about the repeat. You want to see Immortals set up a play, try to take out Danny, especially pre-6. If they can get down there before Tahm Kench actually gets 6, punish these summoners being down. Insanity is moving, a lot of people moving down here. Sensaren's coming as well.
Ignite, actually battling back here. Danny firing away onto Destiny. The dive will miss from Tahm Kench, but Ray's now going to be caught out. What a great lantern though for Destiny. Right into the waiting arms of Raze.
Yeah, that was a great lantern, but the gank from Svenskeren evens things right back out. Gets both the summoners off of Raze. They're not able to cash in on the kill, and it's going to allow them to reset. The cost is up here on screen, taking the Rift Herald in that top lane. We can see Revenge getting aggressive here, Impact. Taking the bad end of that trade.
And Xerxes now just trying to clean up all the camps. Level 7 now for the Kayn. Impact though roaming around alongside Jizuke and Svenskeren. There are no free heralds on EG's watch. EG actually maybe going to take it themselves here.
Mm-hmm. Does Xerxes stay around to try to steal this? He looks like he wants to. No way.
Yeah, he's in the wall, but can't really do much. Has to pop out to smite the Rift Herald, and that would be probably a one-way trip, and not even close to a guaranteed steal. So does indeed back away instead, as IMT going to take their recalls there. So Rift Herald over to EG is nice, continuing to stay proactive despite bottom lane being a little bit dicey, let's say. 20 CS still up for Raze.
Yep, but the advantage there is kind of equalized in the mid lane, right? Jizuke had that mid prio. He is able to actually move over, help him get the Herald. Svenskeren, very effective, forces out the summoners on bot side, gets up towards that top side, still takes over that Herald. Cost Impact probably a couple CS under the tower because he had to actually move away from Revenge, who was pushing in, but largely collected most of his wave as well. So EG feeling pretty good about it. Immortals slightly ahead as far as the gold does go. But a very even game overall, and it's been a lot of posturing, a lot of movement, a lot of looking for plays, and not a lot of that full commitment to the plays, because largely both teams have kind of been matching each other at every turn.
All right, well now Dragon is on the menu. Pretty late for the first one, but always nice to grab it here. IMT going to pull it fully out. Ignar did have some vision, now been turned off by the control ward, and this will be an easy take here for IMT. Bottom lane can't really threaten them because they're constantly getting pushed in, and there's so much back and forth in mid. IMT going to easily take that one away.
Yep, going to be able to grab that, no problem. We'll see if there's any sort of answer on the top side, since Garen does have the Herald. He's heading out towards bot, so looks like he wants to, at the very least, cover. And as they're recalling, he's going to change his mind. So everyone's just kind of converging to mid. You can see Thresh moving up towards mid, Kayn again heading down towards here. But there's just been so much vision from EG. You know, you look at these wards on the side brush, wards littering this area, another ward here. You know, EG has so much coverage here for Jizuke to be able to play aggressively, to be able to back off every time these roams are happening. And Immortals trying to do their best to clean it out, but haven't really been able to take down too much.
Impact, really nice trade onto Revenge, actually. This is such an interesting matchup to watch. Impact has done a really good job of spacing out of Gwen's Q using his own dash. So it's been kind of a fun back and forth. Impact actually up CS right now, and they've been mostly isolated, so definitely one that we might see more often. Again, Gwen is always going to be in the game at this point, so if you're going to give her away, finding ways to counteract it with common champions is nice. But otherwise, it's been, very quiet here between these two. It's IMT up a little bit of gold, and that will change as soon as his Herald crashes for these plates.
Yeah, Nigar threatening the wraparound. He does finally hit 6 here.
Hooray!
That is a big deal for them. The TP flank, so double TP.
Oh no, the Rift Rail's charging in, but now EG are committing for it. Ulti out of Danny, Infernum is good, but it's not enough damage. Realm Warp over the top. And Svenskeren now trying to fight away Insanity as the Devour was used onto Danny. Revenge, though, going to get himself exhausted, but the Gwen zone is just too powerful. Ignite down for Revenge. Kills Danny, and Svenskeren is dead as well.
Nicely done, the double TP. We'll have to see how much it costs them, though, in the solo lanes, as EG has the push in mid, in top. They're working away at these towers, so will the extended play even be positive for them in gold? Ignar survives, and they are losing plates. You know, they're losing plates across the map. It's 2 plates mid. We'll see how many do go down top. It's going to be a second at least here with the Sheen, with the attack speed. So, you know, that is kind of the equivalent of 2 kills taken back, plus they are still getting experience and they're denying it from their opponents. So despite it being a pretty good play overall, with the double TP coming through, it's a very aggressive move from EG. The Herald charge, they still get 2 plates there, they get 2 plates mid, they get 2 plates top. So it is 6 plates, plus you're getting 2 teleports out and you lose 2 kills, which, you know, is fairly costly. But, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, I still think it's a good play for EG.
Yeah, I mean, seems like it on value just fine as far as the gold transfer goes. Gold is still even, actually, and IMT were very slightly ahead before that play started, so EG will be more than happy with that result. Yeah, for sure.
So it's pretty much dead even now at this point. I do like the proactive move, though, and Impact trying to go aggressive here. He has the Sunderer.
Sunderer versus Rift, make a Revenge, losing the 1v1 right now, though. A solo kill out of Impact. He just cannot be stopped.
Yeah, not able to stop him there. Revenge goes down. He didn't have his ulti. He used the ulti on the bottom side with the TP, so Impact sees his window. That could be a very different fight if Revenge had the R available. The damage with that is so huge, but Impact knows his window. That is another extended punishment there. Now they're looking mid lane.
Okay, does start it off. Svenskeren looking to finish off the kill. Does get it, but at what cost? He flashes away. Triumph kicks in, and Svenskeren will live the dive, but Zerx is roaming through. He is ready to ult somebody. Draven ulti tries to clip Sven, doesn't quite find it. Danny, though, left alone in a 1v2 with Ignar. Roaming, easy pick up there for Raze as he cashes in on the stacks.
Yeah, the cash in there is big. Immortals needed something back after that play bought, the extended play. You know, we already talked about all the short plates going over. Then Impact gets a solo kill on Revenge, who's missing his ult off the bottom TP. They lose the top lane tower. They lose a kill mid. So they needed something. The cash in is big for Raze, as Danny has kind of been left out, just hung out to dry in this game. The Essence Reaver was already completed for Raze, so he has the early Essence Reaver here, going to be able to just non-stop be spamming the W for the attack speed, for the movement speed, juggling axes constantly here. And we'll see where he takes us with this lethality, but he's kind of their main condition right now, and they're down 700 gold at this point. We can see it one more time. Impact on the hunt here for Revenge. And Revenge is playing without Flash, so once you're in on this fight, there's really no way out whatsoever. The dunk comes through. That is the ulti advantage. Impact making it look easy, and honestly, it was not that close. And this is just Destiny on a sneaky play. Danny didn't realize he was there. I think Danny assumed that Thresh was roaming, thought he was covered with the wards, but Destiny has snuck into the brush, gets in that kill, and that is 700 gold here onto Raze.
All right, well, bottom side here, IMT once again trying to bully poor Danny. Devour is up and will have to be used because Xerxes is on the run. Still might make the play, but the Lantern instead will pull him out of it. IMT thinking better of the 3v2 dive.
Gonna be able to push him back there. And it may in fact actually be that Duskblade with the Caulfields coming through, the Essence Reaper on top. So very aggressive, very squishy build here from Raze. The amount of burst you can put out with these types of builds is incredible. And as I said, you're going to have non-stop usage of the W, of the axes, and the skilled Draven players can get multiple axes up in the air at the same time, actually playing with 3+ axes at times, which can be pretty crazy if you can really control it, allowing you to get those axes out even with the extra attack speed on every single auto, which really can optimize your damage, but it's tough to do, right? Especially when you have the threat of LeBlanc piling in, of Lee Sin, of Diego to kind of worry about. Because he is that big win condition for them. They are really bleeding gold now. They're even going to likely lose the tier 2 mid. And this went from Immortals in full control to Immortals are just trying to stabilize. Like, they are just losing everything.
Yeah, this is actually such a good sequence of plays here for EG. 2 quick ones in mid. Actually even getting to get the 3rd charge as well. It is maximum value today from that 2nd Rift Herald. Very nicely orchestrated there by Evil Geniuses. Impact's feeling good. He's got his solo kill. And EG, they're going to take now 4 towers to 0, boost that gold lead all the way up to about 4,000 in the lead.
Okay, Prowler's Claw coming through. So I will admit
That's not the one I expected.
No, it's not what I expected either. So he does have the lethality passive. So, that is maybe what it is about. We see this with the Varus builds. I'm not as up to date on the Draven builds, to be honest. So I don't know if this is as common or not. Draven obviously just not that popular in pro plays or in solo queue these days, so I don't see a lot of it. But a very interesting build, very aggressive, very high damage. We'll have to see if we can pull any sort of outplays off with Prowler's Claw. Sometimes there's the opportunity to avoid skill shots and avoid abilities, things like that with it. But Kane's still looking for the transform, and Insanity falling behind. Topside is going the way of Impact, and EG are just kind of walking around the map, taking everything. Xerxes has not been able to get enough fights to really get that early transform, and they're just kind of falling further and further and further behind. Their one advantage right now is the Dragons, but with this gold lead for EG, you're expecting them to be able to take away the 3rd.
Right, and that's the nice thing, Danny, now that he's grouped with his team, life is a lot better, Weak side specialist Danny, rest of the team's picking up the slack, and now he can just go ahead and be Aphelios. As IMT, we'll see if they can push things back again. Trying to boost up the old Rise, see if Insanity can get the side lane play happening. I mean, again, as you mentioned in draft, they do have good 1-3-1. But Revenge and Insanity a little far away from really contesting those side lanes right now.
And it's just been kind of Immortals, a couple plays didn't go their way. And ever since that double TB bot, they've kind of just gone back in their shell and have just allowed EG really to dictate the pace of the game. And EG is a team that is not shy about doing that whatsoever. They're a very aggressive team. If you're not willing to fight them, they're just going to take objectives. They're just going to take away your jungle camps, and have been doing a really good job at that. Shizuke now out to the side lane here, and Insanity's going to have to be very careful. Did not elect to actually go Merc Treads. Most players do in this matchup. Instead, he's just kind of sitting on the casual Null Magic Mantle, which maybe is going to be like a late Banshee's Veil or something like that, but likely he'll just sit on that little bit of flat MR to help deal with the flat Spell Pen that Shizuke has. He'll probably fully get the Archangel's Staff and then maybe do something with that later.
All right, well, it's forward stuff nice and quick for Shizuke, so everyone is a target. All right, now for this LeBlanc. As EG lining up for probably this next Dragon here, looking to claim their first and keep that quick soul out of the hands of IMT. As we've noted, it is going to be Raze having to position pretty carefully in the upcoming team fight.
Yeah, it's high risk, high reward for Draven, right? If you can actually get in there and get the autos out on some of these squishy targets, you can change a game. One crit with this sort of build where you actually have, a fair bit of lethality in it onto someone like Jizuke or Danny, these squishy targets, can absolutely change a team fight. That can be the difference between, Xerxes going in and just immediately executing them and really taking over or not. So we'll see if Raze is going to be able to do it, or if he mispositions at all and you get kick flashed in by Svenskeren and into the waiting arms of Jizuke, like, you'll just instantly die.
It's kind of funny that, like, in some ways, both LeBlanc and Draven are, like, mid-range burst champions, right? I think Jizuke will win any sort of 1v1 encounter, but especially when maybe some lifesteal, some shields kick in for Raze.
Yeah.
LeBlanc cannot jump in quite so carelessly once Draven is up and ready. So
Absolutely.
it'll be fun to see them go head-to-head. There's a lot of damage on both sides here.
Well, and that's why Draven used to kind of go for that more defensive build. You think back to the old school build, more with like the previous Death Dance, as well as Bloodthirster, and just kind of stacking a lot of the lifesteals because you knew that you were fairly vulnerable. You don't have any sort of a dash. You have to be in the mix to really be getting damage done, and that's why Draven is considered very difficult to play. There's not a lot of room for error here. And he's also not scaling as well as a lot of the other champions that are meta, so you have to be really willing to play aggressive to push the pace. And with this sort of build, we'll see if Raze is going to be able to do it. But so far, EG just kind of gifted over the dragon. Immortals still unwilling to contest, and EG has just done a good job setting up the vision.
Ignar trying to get out of there, gets himself blue smited. Impact Roman down, but Ignar going to have to flash, and Ignar will get out of there. But did cost him quite a lot to escape.
And just look at all the vision on this side of the map, though, from EG. Like, this whole area is basically all just blue wards. There's one deep ward and one pink ward by Immortals base. They basically conceded the bot side of the map completely, and as a result, Insanity has to back off the tower. He's not safe to actually farm here. So this may be another tier 2 going the way of Jizuke. We can see Destiny is back to base. He's trying to move up to actually cover this. And finally, the transform will come through.
It's going to be Red Cane, but very late here is Jizuke is getting aggressed. Stun, that's a kill. Raze! Actually the one to cash it in. That is quite fortunate.
He even got a shutdown because there was such a farm lead. So Jizuke had the farm shutdown available. He gets the cash in. How much gold did he actually get off that? It was off my screen. I didn't quite catch exactly how much it was, but it must have been a massive amount. We'll see when he goes back to base what he actually has completed, but Immortals now off the back of that pick, want to get active on the map. We'll see if they're willing to push here, try to get a tower down or something.
Oh, I really want one axe to fly into somebody's face and see how much damage Raze is doing just right now without having spent that gold. But IMT, they have different plans as they're going to move over to the left-hand side, clear out this crab, and maybe try and threaten for Baron. Because again, still 0 towers in that column right now for IMT, so not a lot of map to play with.
No, they have been basically playing exclusively on their side of the map. Jizuke back up, so doesn't end up resulting in any objectives, but still it's a nice kill. It is the flash down, the shutdown on the Draven, really exactly where they would want it to go. But it is kind of concerning when you see farm shutdowns being built up, because it just means that honestly EG is straight up out farming you. They had a farm shutdown built up on LeBlanc. They also have one built up on the 020 Aphelios, so it's like, it is somewhat problematic that EG are just kind of playing the side lanes better. Because they are less often grouped, they're picking up more farm overall. But Immortals out to the side lane here, trying to set a trap here for Jizuke.
Oh, that's such a good hook by Destiny. Boxes there as well. Not enough damage, but Ignite's still going, and now they're going to pop the speed boost, and Jizuke is going to be killed by Revenge.
Nicely done. Distort it forward. I think he wanted to distort in and place a ward. And that's a pretty common play. Like, it really looks silly there because he distorted into the waiting arms of a hook, but a lot of the LeBlanc players like to distort forward, drop a ward, distort back. Unfortunately for him, Destiny, right place, right time. Really nice play. They get the pick, and back-to-back picks now on Jizuke. Doesn't look like, again, they're willing to actually start anything up. The wave is actually at the Immortals base here, has been pushed in by Impact. Mid lane being pushed in as well. And if you're not willing to start up the Baron, you're just kind of bleeding farm. So Immortals are getting like the first step of a pick, but they don't seem to really have the confidence to go for more than that.
I mean, Raze has 3 items, right? He went back and finished LDR. Like, does plenty of damage, and with Jizuke off the table, it feels like that's a good spot to at least try poking a bit further in, but IMT, only surface level goals they've achieved right now. They did at least get a tower. They actually took out the top outer, but with mid still being up and pretty healthy by the looks of things on the minimap, it is just so tough with these long lanes constantly pushing towards your base. Like, Insanity is basically a full-time janitor out the front of his Nexus. He has to just clean minions from out of there. And Dazuke's back again, but he's just not afraid. Destiny's going to get basically half his health lost in two quick abilities.
Yeah, even more than that, and now cut out here.
Oh my goodness, Impact, why do you do so much damage? Insanity burning low, the Ignite is good enough. Impact's going to grab the kill. I was looking for the body, but it's too far away. Oh, we found it. Impact going to go ahead and possess the Soul of Rise. And EG going to keep pushing through.
And honestly, the Wave States have just told the story of this game. Immortals are just playing on their side of the map permanently, right? They have only taken that one tower on the top side. Every time there's any sort of a scrap, it's on Immortals' side of the map. It's EG that are playing aggressive. And, you know, I get that EG did get themselves into a pretty good spot, but, like, you wouldn't believe that Immortals had an early lead. You wouldn't believe that this was a very, very close game, and they're still in it. But they have got to be willing to fight for some of these things. They've got to be willing to defend their side of the map, or you're just going to allow EG to constantly find the plays that they want to make. And when they're picking and choosing what they fight, they are going to be coming out on top.
Yeah, I mean, Dazuke, his 2 deaths have been at the enemy blue buff and the Baron Pit, right? Very far forward. As it's been a lot of tower defense here for IMT, and EG again just pushing forward. We know EG are not afraid to fight, but unfortunately for IMT, they don't feel quite the same level of confidence even when they do find a pick. So again, you have to protect this Draven, right? Race is basically all of your plan right now, but Draven hitting nothing is about as bad as Draven dying trying to hit something.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're just actually giving up gold across all of these different roles, you are going to be falling further and further behind. I mean, it gets to a situation where it's like, yeah, Draven is really strong, but how long will he remain strong compared to the rest of the game?
Oh, the root on the Sven Scaran, but the hook did not land, not quite coordinated, and now Ignite diving in with the W. Infernum out of Danny does a good amount of splash damage, and IMT, no casualties, but they're just going to have to fall back.
Yeah, and Jizuki was threatening on the side there. They had to back it up. You get splashed low, double distort, could have killed them off. They're trying to push in here, but it's difficult to make it.
Oh, Xerxes just chunked. I don't think they can go at all. Jizuke keeping them out. I mean, EG have full control of the river. They're going to deny the 3rd dragon again from IMT and just keep pushing forward. EG just relentless. This is not the same, like, destroying you, completely dominating gold lead EG kind of game, but the feel of the game is similar. They are just constantly pressuring you.
I mean, they're dictating the pace of the game,
right.
Absolutely. They are choosing where there are fights, they are choosing where there are plays. Immortals now finally going for something aggressive.
But Impact's just getting in there, 1v1 looking good, TP coming through, Everfrost is nice, Insanity! Off the back of the Realm Wall finds a shot down, but Jizuke explodes Revenge, and that chain's gonna miss, and unfortunately Jizuke is not gonna chase, instead he'll flash, but he would have gone back in if that one had hit.
Yeah, just the trade there. They do flash out, so he is able to escape. Nice play, though, from Immortals, and a proactive one finally coming out from them. Now moving up towards the top side, trying to take over this area. A smaller point, but it is something that matters in a situation like this when Draven is so important, is also that, you know, all of your armor pen, all of your lethality, the lethality in particular is worth less against the Mountain Drake. The double Mountain Dragon gives you some of that additional flat armor, and lethality becomes more and more valuable the lower armor you are. So we can see this play one more time. Impact definitely was going to win the 1v1, but it was about the Realm Warp coming through. He knows there's no way out, so he turns, he fights. The stopwatch, though, saving Revenge, and Insanity at this point in the game does a lot of damage. That one combo was a good 30-40% of the health off of Impact, and forcing the flash there out from Jizuke. If that Q hits, it might have just been a kill straight up.
Well, Rabadon's done that for Jizuke, actually. I don't know if he had it last time, but definitely also got plenty of damage on his front as well. As it looks like Ray's building RFC, going to make it a little bit easier to prod and poke here. But again, Jizuke is diving in. Xerxes going to be chunked. Not all that tanky right now on the Kane. Just a Gore Drinker and a Sterix, and the wrong boots to fight up against LeBlanc.
Yep. I do like the RFC here because it's basically what you said, right? It's kind of about that one auto. You're trying to get that one auto down on someone like Jizuke who doesn't have sustain in the kit. And that is going to stick, right? If you get a rapid fire crit with 4 items on Draven and you're hitting that LeBlanc, Jizuke probably has to base, right? Or he has to get Honey Fruit or something at the very least. It won't stick as much on someone like Danny because he's going to have a little bit more sustain kind of built in with the runes, with the setup here. But Danny himself is getting to a point where he's quite threatening. The Infinity Edge has been completed now. And yes, Draven is still ahead, but you know, Phelios is going to be relevant, right? The farm bounty is just increasing.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually ahead of farm over the Draven now. You know, they've just done a better job of playing out these side lanes. You know, look at all 3 of the solo lanes. They're ahead.
Yeah, it is funny to to basically see the ADs have inverted score lines, and one of the bounties is worth 50 to 100 gold more on Danny's side. But it is very telling about what's been happening in this game. Array's items also, like, they cost different things to Danny's build, which is very expensive for the most part, right? Collector, I guess, being pretty cheap, but IE definitely not being all that cheap. So Ray's, he's happy, but he needs to auto people, right? That's the big thing. You don't do anything if axes aren't flying to faces.
I mean, he's been strong like the whole game pretty much. And he basically hasn't fought anyone in 20 minutes, right? He did get that one kill on LeBlanc, but it was literally one axe on a low HP retreating member. I can't remember the last time I really saw him fighting.
There we go.
The flash.
Ulti out onto Ignite, Realm Warp as well. IMT maybe found the window they've been looking for. Impact gonna get chunked pretty low. Insanity though in the mix, but Revenge diving in onto Ignar is gonna get 1 kill. Insanity takes out Impact, and now IMT. They pop the Shirelles, but watch Kazuke. There he goes around the side. Ray's gonna be the target. He just flashed into the enemy team though. Ray's has to make it happen. Takes down Danny. But can he stay? IMT are going to try for the Baron.
Oh, Jizuke almost took him out, but yeah, Raze just straight up flashes in, uses the Prowler's Claw on Danny. Oh, the best way to stay safe, just kill off the enemy team. And Raze on this Baron. Revenge trying to zone off Senscare, and the Baron's getting low.
Yeah, they're going to get it here. Jizuke cannot go back in. Revenge, a great little bit of zoning there to keep Svenskeren out, and that is the Baron claimed by IMT, but Jizuke not letting them get away with this one. Everfrost pop, but Jizuke dodges it, and IMT will finally escape the pit.
Oh, Immortals, after all this time, getting a huge play there, getting multiple kills, getting the Baron back in the gold lead now. They pull the trigger. They have been so patient this game, so passive throughout most of it. And they just find the opportunity here. Danny having to flash the stand aside. The ulti is actually avoided as well. But, we can see immediately Ignar's put incredibly low. Jizuke is actually pretty far away from the fight. Impact goes down. Jizuke is arriving to the fight, and the fight's already decided, right? Your top laner is dead. Your support is effectively dead. You see the amount of damage he can actually get down, but Raze just flashes in, Prowler's Claws in, and takes down Danny, and EG weren't able to get any sort of an opportunity actually stealing this.
And now IMT going to try and take the third dragon finally for themselves. Are going to grab it here. Plenty of DPS to go around. They grab it. We'll see what they can do with the Red Bull Baron buff, though, because they need to kind of open up this game a little bit more. That is what we're asking for, right, this whole game. Finally, a nice proactive move, but continuing the strength you already have is really important as Impact going to look to fight Revenge. But Gwen's pretty strong right now. Gwen's really strong right now, and Impact's gonna leave. Revenge grabs the tower there with the help of the Baroned up minions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if he wants this fight. You're down a level, you're down items at this point, plus the Baron buff and the Baron minions. That is terrifying, and Impact does have to use the ult in retreat, is the trade of ults, but you gotta go heal up. There's no way you could wave clear this, I don't think, unless the whole team comes over to defend.
Yeah, but then you just lose more, right? And IMT don't actually have the mid outer yet. They'll finally take it there, but Revenge applying so much pressure with these double Baron cannons. Now the tier 2 and mid's gonna fall. They're even gonna dive on it. Ignite, such an easy target, and Raze just deletes Tom Kench.
Where did he go? Oh my god, now Realm Warp down on bot side. Svenskeren.
Woo! They're in there. Xerxes popping off with a big W. Zones out Jizuke and Sven. Insanity on a killing spree, takes down Impact. Insanity diving in close, gets the double kill as he takes down Danny, and IMT in one fell swoop might take this game.
Yeah, it looks like they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna close this one out. It's just 2 members of EG. They got nothing to say.
All right, they're gonna dive in through, but it's not gonna be enough. The Bud Late Ace will finish off the game as IMT will take out EG's Nexus and hand them one of their very rare losses.
Nicely done there by Immortals. A very passive early game from them. They got the advantage. They weren't really pressing it, but when it mattered at the end, they came up huge. They got multiple picks. They snowballed that into the Baron. It was a very decisive push for the win here from Immortals. And honestly, overall, a pretty strong game. It was a weird one.
It was a weird one.
Yeah.
IMT...
Like, they played well early.
Yep.
They kind of just didn't do anything for a really long time.
Yep.
They kind of gave EG the game. It felt like, okay, EG's just going to run away with it. Then they had a really good team fight. Immediate Baron, game ends.
Yep.
And it's kind of weird to evaluate games like that. I think that, it's fair to criticize how passive they were, with some of the advantages that they were early, but at the same time, they did eventually get advantages where they were strong.
I think especially because earlier IMT games were not like this, right?
Yeah.
They were using the flexibility of the solo laners. Destiny and Raze could lean on strong 2v2 sometimes. And when they got leads, they often ran away with the game. But in the last few weeks, maybe because of their position, they have been a lot more patient in their games. But we can actually announce the player of the game is Destiny. Pretty nice Thresher. Oh, he didn't die. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he did have a very good game on the Thresh, setting them up early, helping with some of those picks as well. And Jizuke up towards the top side, played the team fights well. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, if your read as Immortals is that you're just going to outscale because Gwen is going to eventually beat Viego in the side lane because you have Ryze kind of scaling up. If that was their read, Kayn versus Lee Sin, sure. Then maybe that is kind of their interpretation of the game, and that's why they felt like it was okay to really play passively here. But at the end of the day, they take down EG.
Right.
It's a really big win. EG had won 11 of 12. They take them down, one of the rare losses, as you said. And this really does, I think, boost the confidence for Immortals going in towards playoffs. We're nearing the end of week 8, and that's a huge win for them to get.
Right, this is the kind of thing we were talking about. It's like they've locked, but their seed's obviously not going to be that high. They'll do what they can with the remaining games they have left, but it is a lot about playing yourself into form now that you're going to be in playoffs. And I think we see the pieces that work for IMT in this kind of game, but we didn't necessarily see them execute in the way that we'd like them to. But if in 2 weeks' time they come playoffs and all that mid-game smoothed out, going to be a very deadly team.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the other side, I think you kind of have to question some of the game plan from EG as far as how much they hung out Danny to die.
Weak side Danny.
It felt like he was almost no part of that game. He did get allocated a lot of farm in the mid game, and did kind of slowly farm his way back into it. But I do think this is another example of just Aphelios doesn't work well without defensive supports largely, right? And we saw 100 Thieves actually lose playing this exact setup with Tom Kench plus Aphelios. That is the old school setup. But it's such a different champion now. It's more like pairing Set with Aphelios than it is pairing, Thresh with Aphelios. And I just think we saw some of the weaknesses of that. Almost all the advantages and the few times that Immortals did actually make something happen, it's all just piling in on top of Danny, right? He doesn't have the Devour right there to keep him safe. He didn't have a Lantern right there to keep him safe. Even in that final fight, he flashes, then he Gale Forces out, actually dodging some stuff, but then the Realm Warp is there, and they have nothing left, right?
Yeah.
And he's basically essentially out of the fight before it even starts. So, it'll be interesting to see if this does continue as a common draft pairing, because, I've seen it a couple times now, and I haven't liked it at all.
Right, and you could play frontline, but obviously that's not what a lot of solo laners are playing right now. So definitely a rough one there for Danny. But for now, it is time to hand it over to Tigris and Raze, who are lined up for our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you, Pastry Time. I am so happy to be joined by Raze here after another IMT victory. The only one to bring out a Draven pick 3 times this year, finding the victory here today. So tell me, why was this the pick that you brought to the table against this EG squad?
I think Draven, ever since they did the small buffs to his Q, he's been a pretty decent. I think he's a pretty above average pick, but I think people are just too scared to pick him up. His skill ceiling is his mechanical ceiling is extremely high, and I don't know. I think people are too afraid to try and practice him, and he does feel very punishing to play if you don't abuse the stacks. And I got 2 huge adoration kills this game onto Danny and LeBlanc. So yeah, when you get games like that, Draven just looks extremely broken in my opinion.
Yeah, you're making him look broken in those moments. Really clear performances from you in these recent victories, but thinking back to a Hotspot interview that you had a few weeks ago, you spoke a bit about feeling as if you're in a bit of a slump, struggling in the early game. Can you tell me a bit more about that and any improvement that you feel you have made in that regard?
I'm very honest with myself. If I think I'm playing poorly, not only does it reflect in my play, it also makes me play even worse. And so, yeah, when I'm playing bad, I feel like the worst AD carry in the LCS, to be honest. But when I'm playing well, I feel like I'm in a good spot. I think the last 2 games I haven't played as well as I would like to, but I'm definitely confident in my ability right now, and I think I'm playing one of the best ADs in LCS currently. So hopefully I can keep that up for the rest of the year.
And we are all our own worst critics, and it makes sense as a professional player to have that mindset. You and the rest of Immortals have playoffs on your mind. You have officially locked that. What are you focusing on to get prepared for that, considering that even here in the mid-game and beyond, we did see a bit more clarity in closing out the game?
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to work on is our drafts in this game. I don't know if the casters noticed, but our third pick Kane, that was not planned. That was a completely random pick. That was literally random to Kane, so... And I don't think we were able to, like... I don't think we were allowed to drop, so we're just like, okay, at least it's a jungler, guys. We can do this, so... That Kane pick was not meant to be picked at all, but it worked out, so it doesn't matter, I guess.
Keeping some of that fun and spontaneity in the draft itself. Reyes, thank you so much for stopping by and giving us that insight after this victory.
Thank you.
We do have more LCS to come, everyone. We're going to kick it to a break, but on the other side, the analyst desk will be getting you ready for C9 taking on FlyQuest. We'll see you there.
G'day everyone, it's time for Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. As the Golden Guardians descend upon Cloud9's topside, all hope seems lost for Fudge in the face of the incoming tower dive. But, in true support fashion, Vulcan arrives at the absolute perfect time to turn things around in the ultimate show of support div.
Oh, Gwen, just the W. Blazeolf insta-flashes in for it, but Vulcan has read the play! So well done out of Vulcan, as they will get 3!